go out in front or has to do a speech, just think of yourself as a different character, different person, and just it's not you up there. It's your alter ego, if you will. But for me, it was one of those. I actually thrive being in front of people. So the more people I'm in front of, the more excited I get and the better performance I give. I take their energy, I turn it into adrenaline somehow, and we're off to the races. As far as jumping in and doing it, I guess I didn't think twice about it. I just said, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to have some fun with it.
Welcome to the LandLife podcast with your host, PJ Riley.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the LandLife podcast. My name is PJ Riley. Guys, if you're getting value from this podcast, and I say it every time, and I'm going to keep saying it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you're on iTunes, Spotify, leave 5 stars every time. Do me a solid, leave 5 stars. Guys, if I don't keep getting good reviews, I won't keep getting good guests like our guest today, Randy Andrews. And this is totally different. So our guest today he's not in real estate. He doesn't have an e-commerce business. He doesn't have, he's not building houses or doing anything like that. This is completely different than I've ever had anybody on here. Randy Andrews is a national touring comedy hypnotist. Randy, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. This is really cool. So, never had anybody even remotely like you on this podcast, and I'm sure you hear that all the time. I'm sure there's not a ton of guys in your space that are out there, hitting up the podcast world. Man, so you're in Iowa, right?
Yep, that's correct. Kind of north central Iowa.
So small town Iowa, and you're on big shows, right? You travel all over the country, jumping onto big stages and doing stuff. Kind of give us let's get a background first.
Yeah.
That way we can talk about all the cool stuff you're doing now. Give us a background on you, kind of what got you started, what got you to the point right now.
Yeah. So way back in the day when I was in high school, we had a comedy hypnotist come to our school. It was part motivational talk and then mostly hypnosis show. He came out, he performed for us 3 times at that school. And then I saw him at leadership conferences 3 other times. And I was hypnotized 5 of the 6 times I saw him. Just by chance, the first 2 times was weird. I was sitting in the audience. Next thing I know, at the end of the show, people are clapping for me, and I was on stage. But anyway, so we get going. I see him in college, and I was originally going to school to be a teacher. I was going to be an elementary teacher. Thought, it's not for me. Went to be a PE teacher because I thought if I'm going to teach, I'm going to wear sweatpants all day and live the dream. So I took a sports psychology class as part of that program, and one unit in the sports psychology class talked about sports hypnosis and how athletes would use it to gain a competitive edge, help recover from their grueling seasons. And at that same time, we had that same hypnotist show up at my college, and he did his show. At the end of the semester, we had to write a paper on any unit in the book. So I picked sports hypnosis. I reached out to him for a personal interview, and what was supposed to be a quick 10-minute phone interview turned into a 4-hour face-to-face interview. I drove to his office, which was only 30 minutes from my college. And he found out that I did theater and music, and say, if you ever want to learn more about, sports hypnosis or just hypnosis in general, or if you want to go on the road, let me know. Graduated from college. I kind of kept in touch with him, followed him a little bit. And then I was talking with my wife and my mom and grandparents, and I was joking around. We were watching old SNL episodes with Matt Foley, with Chris Farley, and I said I'm going to be a motivational speaker and live down by the river. And they kind of laughed. Well, I thought, that's not a bad idea. So I reached out to this hypnotist, and I said, hey, if the offer's still on the table, I'd love to learn from you. Fast forward, I trained with him for 6 months. I went on the road with him off and on for 6 months. I was still working a full-time job, and then I was doing it as a side hustle. And what turned from side hustle into a full-time career now, I went to launch it at the absolute worst time, right before the pandemic hit. I said, I'm full-time. I went to quit my job. I was working as a college admissions counselor, and then the pandemic hit and all entertainment shut down.
Yeah.
So then I kind of worked part-time there, did a little stuff on the side for them virtually. But I was actually one of 4 hypnotists touring the nation during the pandemic, and putting on safe shows. I did some virtual shows for my office in Iowa. I did a full show with 30 people down in Texas, in San Antonio.
Really?
Did another virtual show in North Carolina, which was weird. Those are more nerve-wracking than the big stages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you hypnotizing people on virtually?
Oh, we do it every day. Pull your
possible.
phone out, you go through TikTok, you're going to get, put to a trance. And from there, it's just someone telling you what to do and to make it fun. But really it was kind of one of those things where we had to make sure we had a good stable internet connection was my priority. Cause if they lost me, then I lose them, and then they also lose them, and we don't know what's going to happen then, but
then they never come out of it.
yeah, they're just going to be, it's like a long nap until I can get out to their college. No, it was a lot of fun though. So what we did, basically had a set group of individuals who would watch the induction process, which is when we go from the beta and alpha brainwave states into the theta brainwave state where suggestibility happens. And then from there, we switch the camera back over to the live audience that could watch it virtually. That way, people who are sitting at home watching it, they couldn't go claim that they were hypnotized. Yeah. So it was a little bit different. It was a little bit weird. And we had people, we had some workers at the colleges kind of stand by and, hey, if for some reason they're not coming out of it, or if we say, hey, we need chair number 4, they're not in it, pull them off, then they would. Luckily, we didn't have to kick anybody off, and we didn't lose anybody. And people aren't still roaming around in a trance down in Texas and North Carolina. So you
got to go find people. You have to GPS these guys if you're going to do it virtually and
just toss
track them down.
Tags on them. And, yeah.
Okay. So it's all about the power of networking too. Like you literally saw a guy on stage. You're like, how can I get in touch with this guy? You built a relationship with this dude and he taught you the business. Okay. He taught you the nuts and bolts, and we can get into that in a second.
Yeah.
How are you? It's not normal for someone to jump up on stage in general and just talk, right? Just think about your speech classes in high school or college. I mean, it's like a 2-minute speech, and most people like can't do 2 minutes. I couldn't do 2 minutes back in high school and college. How were you able to just like, all right, I'm not only going to jump up on stage, I'm going to do something almost no one's ever seen before and hypnotize people. And it's a hypnotist comedy act too. So it's not just that. I mean, okay, go ahead. How did you do that?
So it's let's see, way back then, and back when I was in high school again, I went to a small high school. My graduating class was 29 kids in it. Wow. And if we wanted to put on theater productions that had males in it, we had to step up. So I jumped into it then. I kind of lost that whole stage fright thing. And it was really, for me, and this is kind of just general advice for anyone that's out there that wants to, go out in front or has to do a speech. Just think of yourself as a different character, different person, and just, it's not you up there. It's your alter ego, if you will. But for me, it was one of those, I actually thrived being in front of people. Mm-hmm. So the more people I'm in front of, the more excited I get and the better performance I give. I take their energy, I turn it into adrenaline somehow, and we're off to the races. As far as jumping in and doing it, I guess I didn't think twice about it. I just said, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to have some fun with it. The first show I ever did solo by myself for corporate was for a company based out of Chicago, and they did like utility belts and conveyor belts. They're the manufacturers of them. And with hypnosis versus other forms of entertainment, I'm a little bit different. When people hear hypnosis, they go one of two ways. It's either tell me more, I'm really excited and intrigued, or nope, that's not for me. You're going to mess with my brain and I'm done. And they'll leave. So with this form of entertainment, you don't want to catch someone by surprise if you're performing for them. Well, I was unaware of that with this first show I did. And I walk into this room. I was maybe 27, 28 years old. And this room was full of individuals. There's about 75, 80 of them whose average age was probably 60 to 65 years old. And the older we get, the more skeptical we become. And like we're set in our ways at that point. And as soon as they said, we're going to have some entertainment tonight, but we're going to keep it a secret. And they looked at me and they winked. So I thought, okay, that's my cue. Don't say anything. I jump in there and I take the stage and say, my name is Randy Andrews. I'm going to be your entertainment tonight. I'm a professional comedian that does hypnosis work. And as soon as they heard hypnosis like that, they were gone. they turn their backs like, no, we're not paying attention. So that was a learning point for me. Yeah, exactly. Don't look at me.
Yeah, you can't read my thoughts.
Yep. It happened actually one other time out in New Jersey too. I had this really sweet lady out there. She was getting ready to retire. We had this awesome conversation during dinner, and they told me, if anybody says anything, tell them you're working for the company, that you're a brand new hire, you're starting on Monday. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And then as soon as I got on stage, she looks at me. She got up in front of 150 people. She goes, Randy, you lied to me. We don't get to hang out on Monday. I go, no, I'm sorry. I mean, if the job offer's on the table, we'll talk. So it kind of got the ball rolling there. But yeah, as far as the comedy hypnosis stuff, it's one thing to get up there and give a speech. It's another thing to go up there and be a comedian and have your set and have everything laid out. With this, it's a little bit of planned stuff with a lot of improv work with actors who have never done acting and who, quite frankly, don't want to be on stage in front of a group of people doing weird things like singing, dancing. So it gets a little nerve wracking, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It sounds like it. I mean, honestly, though, as far as like your very first time, you seem really relaxed because of the high school theater. But I mean, I can only imagine how nerve wracking it would have been. I mean, for me, it would be terrifying to be like, okay, you're going to not only jump on, you just learned a brand new skill, and now you're going to jump on and perform it. Okay. So let's get into the skill part now. So you talk to this guy. Are we allowed to say his name, or is he like?
Yeah, he actually, it's Jim Wand. He was a legendary hypnotist. He was in the business for 40 years. He actually just passed away back in August.
Oh, okay.
So his lifelong, he was a good friend of mine. And he was an awesome trainer. Great guy.
Yeah, sounds like it. Okay, so Jim Wand is our legendary trainer guy, and he's explaining the nuts and bolts of this business and this industry. Like, what are they? Okay. So like, without giving away too many of your secrets, right? Like what did he teach you? What were you learning there?
So the initial part, to learn how to hypnotize someone, he said it's going to take maybe 3 to 4 hours of you studying and learning, the induction process. And once you're there and know what to look for, then they're putty in your hands. Be as creative as you want. He said the hypnosis side is easy. The business side is hard. Mm-hmm. And so as far as the hypnosis stuff, when we put someone into a trance, we knock them down into that theta brainwave state where the magic happens. He said, what you want to look for is 3 telltale signs right off the bat. Number 1 is complete relaxation. Like if they lift their arm up and they drop it straight down, then they're there. If they have diaphragmatic breathing, so deep breathing from their diaphragm, and it's kind of relaxed at a good pace, but it's also really deep, he said they're there. And the other one that is, honestly, it's my go-to is rapid eye movement. Kind of like when you go to sleep, you have that REM where your eyes flutter. It's nearly impossible to fake when you're in a conscious state. When you're, I don't say hypnosis unconscious, it's an altered state of conscious. But like right now, if we just sat here and we try to flutter our eyes real fast, it's different than when you're relaxing, when you're sleeping. You see their eyes kind of roll back. So he said, look for those 3 signs. If they're there, perfect. If not, do this, say this, act this way.
Yeah.
And aside from that, the other big thing is confidence. He said, if you walk out on stage and you look nervous, then it's going to portray, it's going to push out onto your audience, and then they're going to be nervous, and they come up on stage and those people are nervous, and it's not going to be a good show. So he said, if you come out, you're confident, and you know what you're doing, you know what you're saying, even if you don't know what you're doing or saying, but you're confident, they'll believe you. I said, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, then the business side of stuff, there's agencies you can work for. Though they're rather hard to get into, and they've got all the big connections, but honestly, it's a lot of network marketing. It's a lot of word of mouth. There's a few organizations you can go to, but there's conventions that I like to go to and perform at, which is kind of nice because you get paid to be there, but you also get paid you're also pushing your name out there.
Sure.
So
let's say somebody's brand new into the industry.
Yep.
First of all, what is step 1 for them? Where do they need to begin?
Step 1, if they're brand new, just starting out, is to learn everything they can about hypnosis and about comedy writing and about stage presence. It's one of those things. People say it's you either have stage presence or you don't.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, I think you can learn it. There's a learning curve there, obviously, but to be good at what you do, you want to know the basics, the background from start to finish. My initial footing in was sports psychology. And that it was a rabbit hole I went down. I read everything on sports psychology, and then I learned more about the history of hypnosis. And then I went and I trained with this guy, with Jim Wand. And from there, we just branched off, and he taught me, this is what you look for. This is psychology. Here's a psychologist to look into that utilize this. Here's some people who are doing the therapeutic side of things. It doesn't always have to be funny and comedy. We can, make some life-changing habits built within people. So so that'd be step one, is to learn the ropes. And then step two would be to hone in on your marketing and figure out what your best foot forward is going to be. For some people, it's real old school. I'm going to pick up my phone. I'm going to cold call, which if anyone out there has ever been in sales, that's not fun. No. We can send letters out, and that's basically going fishing, seeing who's going to take your letter, your postcard, who's going to call you back. Or you could do like I did and get out there and be social with it. Let people see your face, let people get to know you, network, and just use connections that you have.
Yeah. Do you ever contact people yourself? So like, are you online searching for all the big industries and like, let's say all the real estate agent organizations? Are you out there, constantly emailing those guys, hitting them up on Instagram, Facebook, all those kinds of things?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've done, LinkedIn's a big one. That's where professionals go to network with professionals. So LinkedIn's a real good one, because that way they can see like, you're a legit person. You're not just some you're not a bot on Facebook looking at my profile. Or that with being a hypnotist, you gotta be weird. You gotta be weary, because you don't want to be that weird guy that's stalking these people. Yeah. So
want to hypnotize you really bad.
Yeah. Hey, look at your camera real quick. I'm watching you and sleep. Yeah. You're gonna hire me. So we don't do that. But yeah, I've reached out to different industries. If I see that there's a conference coming up, one of the big ones is I pay attention to venues and to event planners.
Okay.
And I'll say, hey, I notice you have this agriculture conference coming up and you're looking for entertainment, or you might have some entertainment. Could I possibly throw my hat in the ring? And if they say no, I politely say, I appreciate it. Great. Good luck with your conference. And if you're interested next year, let me know. But with the big one, fairs and festivals they're a great way for me to get out there. I can go out to a county fair or a state fair or a city festival that's going on, and throw my hat out there, say, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I do. I'm going to throw you a discount just for marketing purposes. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Those are long, grueling days. Usually, we've got theaters that are nice and air conditioned, and it's climate controlled, and volunteers and audience members are comfortable. When you go to a county fair out in the middle of nowhere, there's heat beating down on you. It's not always the best volunteers we get. They're sometimes cranky, sometimes hungry, sometimes in a food coma from
drunk.
Okay. Yep. Sometimes drunk. So there's those ways we reach out to people, but it's trying to get into the conferences, conventions, and reaching out that way. Corporate holiday parties are a big one. There's a few other websites that I keep up my sleeve, that if I have to reach out to someone in a professional way, that there's ways they can find me, and through the Gig Masters, the Bash, Gig Salad. So there's ways that way. But yeah, otherwise I've done some cold calling, colleges, high schools, especially, like, hey, I know you have National FFA Week coming up. If you're interested, I'm your guy.
Okay, so FFA is a big one. I saw you on a video out there too. It seems like that's one of the big markets for you.
Yeah. So I got lucky, or blessed, however we want to look at it. So
if you don't know what FFA is, it's Future Farmers of America.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, kind of that's what they used to be. I made that mistake when I first talked to them. Yeah. I guess they changed it from Future Farmers of America. I think it was back in like 1990. I'm right there with you. They dropped it and they just call themselves the FFA now, because they're looking at expanding beyond just your traditional agriculture. Mm-hmm. They're looking at, hey, you can market for farmers. You can do rooftop gardens, some urban farming. Like,
wow.
I've learned a lot over the last few years. But yeah, this
That's
last year,
a lot different than I thought.
well, it's completely changed in a good way.
Yeah.
So this last year, I was the headliner for the National FFA convention. As the main
Nice.
hypnotist for it. I was going up against the world's toughest rodeo. I did 3 shows, and world's toughest rodeo had 5, I believe. And then there was, I think, 3 or 4 big name country artists that were doing concerts out there. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. But I've done some state conventions for the FFA organizations. I've done the national convention, and
Yeah.
it's one of those good ones to sink your teeth into and have some fun with. And
That's awesome. So how often are you how often are you on the road then for this?
so I do about 100 plus shows a year.
Wow.
Is what I'm looking. Yeah, is what I'm looking at now.
Wow. That is a lot more than I would have expected. That's crazy. That's awesome though.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I try to do is I try to route shows. So that way, if I'm on the road, say, I did this small, I call them week-long tours. Is how I look at it is, so I went out to Tennessee Tech University, and I did that show. And then I went down on that same leg. I did Birmingham, Alabama, and I did Chicago. So for that week, I hit the South, I shot back north, and I drove home. And then the next week I did 3 shows in Iowa, 1 in Illinois, and 1 in Indiana.
Okay.
So,
okay. And so you're traveling, 100 shows a year. That's a lot. How often are you doing more than 1 show in a day?
It's fairly rare to do more than 1 show in a day.
Okay.
I've done it. I've done after proms, which is a big one. That's when all the students go to prom, they get locked in the dorm or in the gymnasium or school. I've done 3 proms in one night, and that was exhausting because it's an hour show, 15-minute drive across town, another hour show, 15 minutes across town, another hour show. So
that's exhausting, but that's kind of nice to get it all knocked out in one little town, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then, there's some schools where I'll do a high school assembly during the morning. And then after lunch at the end of the day, I'll do another high school assembly. And then if I'm in that area and there's a college or a corporation that's wants me, then I can go on that night and do another show. So you can space out. You do up to 3-4 shows a day. I've done a fair once where we did 5 shows in one day.
Wow.
And that 5 shows in one day in the hot. I think
outdoors. Yikes.
98 degrees. We were under a tent, so we had a little bit of shading, but there's no air circulation. It was just it was exhausting.
Wow, that's insane. 5 in one day. Yeah, I don't think I could do the outdoors ones, man. I like the background you have right now. That looks comfortable, pretty cool.
Yep.
Nice and air conditioned and stuff, and heated in the winter. I could do that.
Yeah, yeah. Those are the fun shows. It's climate controlled and everything. Your volunteers can come in, the audience sits down, nice comfortable seats, and those are the nice ones to sit into.
So, I'll have to ask because I know there'll be somebody thinking, I want to speak, right? There's a lot of people out there that want to speak. I think it's like especially if you go on like social media, you'll people teaching people how to speak on stages, right? Go out there and be a life coach and, teach people how to live a better life kind of deal. There's so many of those guys out there, right? So I can see somebody's gears turning that is kind of on that path. They're like, whoa, what if I could learn how to do this? It's kind of the idea, I'm preparing my mind to be on a stage. I have to learn, obviously, the how many years of learning this skill. Now, as far as income, like, is this a profession where you're making some real money here? You can make some really decent money. Is how does that look?
Yeah, as far as income,
you don't have to give me numbers exactly, but I'm just
as far as income goes, obviously starting out, it'd be a side hustle. Obviously, if you're just getting into it, if you've never spoken on a stage before, if you've never been in front of a large group of people, work it as a side hustle. And if you have some vacation days, take a vacation day, go out, give a speech over, on a Friday night, take that Friday off of work, prepare yourself and go. But yeah, on the speaking side of things, you're looking anywhere from $500 on the extremely low end for a speech, upwards of $5,000, $7,500. And that's for a 1-hour talk.
Wow.
For doing the stage hypnosis stuff, depending on what you're getting into, if it's the high school market, your school market, they're going to be a little bit lower because, budget concern or budget crunches.
Sure.
We don't take money away from schools by any means. So those are looking at $1,000 to 3,500, and again, it's for 45 minutes to an hour of your time.
Yeah.
So there's some, and then it goes up from there with corporate. I know of a gentleman who did a corporate gig for a large agricultural company, and he got paid $12,500 for 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding. And if you're doing, how long have you been doing this for?
I've been full-time now for about 5 years, and I was working a full-time job and basically doing full-time hours with this for the past 10 years on top of that. So 15 total.
Wow. So 5 on its own though. 5 just running this as the full-time gig. And it took you 5 years to work up to 100 shows a year.
Yep.
I mean, even on the low end at $500 per show, I mean, you can make some pretty good money if you keep going with this thing.
Yep.
Yeah, this is no joke. This is I don't want to build your competition and try to find people that are doing what you're doing, but I mean, it sounds really cool.
Yeah, no, it's a blast. And I always say I don't want to find a job. I want to find a career. And every place I'd go, I'd start working, and it's like, it's not for me. It's not a career. This is a career. This is something that I found. I love doing it. I love being in front of people. The adrenaline is a lot. Yeah. When you're on stage and you have people cheering for you before you walk out, it's unreal. The National FFA convention, I had 3,500 individuals in that crowd.
Wow.
And we did the pre-show. I got a little ballsy with it. We did. I played a little We Will Rock You beforehand, so I had everyone stomping and clapping. I came up from the middle aisle. I ran down as high fiving.
Like wrestling, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I get up on stage. I sang a little along with it a little bit, and I said, I've always wanted to do this. You guys just kind of entertain me a little bit. But Freddie Mercury, he was an icon. He was an idol to me. He did a show at Wembley Stadium. Just repeat after me. And I did his the AO, and they were echoing back and forth. I was like, oh, this is alive. This is fun.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I can imagine, I don't know if you can keep doing 100 shows every year, even in into your 60s, or because this sounds like you could definitely do it for a while. But I mean, if the dollar amount goes up, as the notoriety builds, and obviously the number of shows will have to go down. I can't imagine doing 100 shows at 60 years old. But
so there's Jim Wan that I was working with, he was upper 60s, and he was still doing just shy of 100 shows a year. Wow. At his peak. He told me, and he said he got a little burnt out with it, but he was doing over 200 shows a year. He was also a partial owner of a comedy club in Vegas, and he had his entourage, and this is before sound equipment was super light, super compact, and so put out a big punch. He had a driver for him that would just drive him from venue to venue. He had a pilot, he had himself, and he had a sound guy, and he had a private plane that he would fly from gig to gig. And he said he would have kept it up if fuel costs weren't astronomical.
Yeah. Randy, do you have a jet? Does Randy have the?
I'm working on it.
Okay. I want to see a jet with your name on it next.
Right. I could do a little Photoshop work for you and send it.
Build one on Canva. You standing in front of your jet with your name on it.
That's me. Yeah. No, when I was talking with, so I talked with my wife about it, and I've got a family man too. And so my wife and I, we were talking about, how big do we want? Do we want to just kind of stay local? Do we want to work the pipeline states in the Midwest? And I said, honestly, my goal is to be one of, if not the youngest stage comedy hypnotist that hits absolutely every state in the country. And I said, I'm going to throw in Puerto Rico too, because why not? I'd like to go down there.
Yeah.
When I was out at the FFA convention, I talked with the delegates and the advisors for the Hawaii delegates. And, I don't want to jinx anything, but there's a possibility of me traveling to Hawaii to do a hypnosis show with my wife and my kids, and doing that out here in the spring.
That's awesome.
So, working on that still. But yeah, my goal is to travel around, but also be economic and be smart about it, because, it is still a business, and I can pay myself as much as I want, but I also can make sure I cover my expenses. So I drive quite a bit, because one of the big things with this industry is if you don't show up, you don't perform. If you don't perform, you don't get paid. And if you don't get paid, the audience doesn't like you anymore. And I like to be
crazy how that works.
It's weird. I like to be liked. So rather than flying from place to place, I actually drove and found a bunch of podcasts and some new music, opened my doors, and
Nice.
yeah. So I kind of take it as a little vacation. There's a lot to see in the U.S. So when I'm out traveling, I had a day overstay in Memphis,
Mhm.
Tennessee. I went to the Pyramid there.
Okay.
Didn't realize it was a Bass Pro Shop till I got there, but hey, it was a nice Bass Pro Shop. But yeah, I toured around Memphis. I did the Graceland experience. I went and saw Elvis's planes, and then I went down to Beale Street and I took nightlife.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's nice to get out there and see not only what the big cities have, but also what these small towns have. You know, if I go out and I perform in a town that there's 1,500 people in it, I try to eat local. I find a
Yes.
mom and pop restaurant, and I learn more about their city, their town, their culture, what they're into, and what makes their towns tick, which is nice.
Yeah, it's very smart too, because a lot of times they'll bring you back. You know, if you're eating dinner at the main diner in town, you know, you're getting your name out there a little bit more too. Even if you're passing through, you know, I do the exact same thing. If I'm driving around, you know, smaller town areas, I'll try to go to whatever the local place is and get to know whoever owns it, or maybe the waiters, the servers, you know, and it just builds a solid rapport with people that you wouldn't have talked to otherwise. They're probably not the people you're going to meet on Instagram, or you know
Right.
what I mean, or YouTube or anything like that. They're not the people watching that, but they are people, and they're
Yeah.
going to keep your name going more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and for me, it's one of those things that the more people we can network, the more people we talk to, just in general, you know, not even to promote yourself. It's just, I think as a culture, as humans, we've kind of lost touch with that. You know, with the advances in technology, we're more apt to hop on our cell phone to hold a conversation. And if you can go into a restaurant, you can spark up a conversation with the waitress about, oh, hey, why are you in town? I'm a hypnotist. That can then turn into, which, and it has happened to me, the people behind me, the people next to me, and they start asking questions, and they get
Yeah.
to realize, oh, you're just a normal person. You don't have magic, or they really dive deep into their burgers and they don't make eye contact.
You need to start showing up wearing like a cape, like you know, like some big hat, big crazy
Yep.
hat, and you know, and that's how you walk around everywhere.
Yep.
You know, you don't leave the house without your cape on. And
So I will tell you, I started getting to some card magic and some mentalism stuff, you know, just to kind of branch out, but also to kind of entertain myself while I'm sitting in the hotel room. Like, always want to be learning something different.
yeah.
And I was sitting on a flight. I was going from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Dallas. And it was there's three seats. There was myself by the window, an empty seat, and this other guy next to me. And I pulled out a deck of cards. It was an hour 15, hour and a half flight. And I'm just working on some weird magic, you know, trying to find cards in a deck. And I see him. He's kind of looking over at me. He looks back. He goes back to his drink, goes back to his phone. He looks back. We get off the plane, and he goes, I gotta ask, are you a card shark? Are you going to Vegas to gamble? I go, no, I'm a hypnotist. He goes, oh, okay. I said, I'm trying to learn some new magic tricks just for fun. He goes, oh, okay. And then I've never seen a man bolt so fast. He grabbed his luggage and he was gone.
Really?
Well, I talked to the person that was sitting across the aisle from him, and they said he's retired Air Force, and the Air Force is one of the few military branches that will not allow their soldiers or their members to be hypnotized because they think it'll mess with their precognition, their brain waves. That's what he told me anyway. So,
Wow.
and this guy, he was retired. I think he was probably pushing 60.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just wondering if I was a card shark. I said, nope. Just try not to drop all the cards everywhere.
At 60, though, I'm not sure the U.S. Air Force really needs his services to do anything at this point. I think he'll be fine if he, you know, met a hypnotist, did a few card tricks maybe, or something like that. It'll be fine.
Yep. Yeah. I would hope so.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about
Yeah.
social media though as well. How much does that play into your into your, I guess, marketing for yourself?
Sure. So with social media, I try to push out, you know, anytime I'm on stage, I tell individuals, the audience, I say, hey, throughout the show, take pictures, take videos, do whatever you want to, except for during the induction, because we don't want you hypnotizing your friends later on. But take as many pictures and videos as you want, and then tag me in them. And I've got roll up banners on the sides of the stage that I put out. And then when I'm done after the show, I take the corporation, the school that I'm at, and all my posts that I do, saying, "Hey, thanks for having me coming out. I had a blast." Show a few pictures and videos. So social media for me, it plays a little bit. I've got a lot of pre-made posts that are getting ready to push out at the start of the year. I took a few marketing classes, some online master classes on it, and got some good stuff coming out. I do know there's another hypnotist that's out there. He blew up big because of social media. He started off really just jumped into a couple of Facebook groups, and he would post full shows that he was doing. And he was fairly young, fairly green, and he would post a full show, said, "Hey, rip me apart, tell me exactly what I did wrong, tell me what I did right, and help me out." And he was asking these guys who had been in the business for 20, 30, 40 years, and they were brutal with it. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
They see this young kid who wants to break in and steal their thunder.
Yeah.
But he took their advice, and then it was about the same time that TikTok made it big. And
good timing.
Yeah. So he started doing a few things on TikTok. Some mindset stuff. He posted a few hypnosis videos, and then he went down and hypnotized a few TikTok influencers. And currently he is sitting at 4.3 million followers on TikTok. And that's his marketing. He got picked up by an agency, so they feed him some shows. But other than that, all he has to do is say, "Hey, you have TikTok?" They said, "No, yeah. Look for Zach." And then they pull that up and they see
everywhere.
He's everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really smart, though. I mean, that's obviously good timing, but it's also incredibly smart. Not only to take the advice of the more seasoned people, but also to jump on social media. And it is somewhat nerve-wracking. It's kind of like being on stage. You're putting yourself out there. It's in the world of social media right now, you're going to get, "Oh, this guy is this, he's that, he's terrible," and that's just how it goes. You can do anything. I buy and sell dirt, and people attack me every single day of the week. I'm like, "Guys, I sell dirt. I mean, it's not that exciting. That's all there is to it." So I can only imagine if you're doing something big on stage in front of people that you're going to attract, some negative people too. So that's really impressive that you jumped on there. He's like, "Screw it. We'll see what happens."
Yeah, he's like, it's worst case scenario, they don't help me out or they just rip me apart. And he was confident enough in himself and his abilities that he just kept doing it. And I want to say he had 5 or 6 full-length shows. And in my industry, if you have some gold nuggets in your show, you want to keep those hidden. You don't want to show them because
someone steal them.
Exactly. Someone's going to take your ideas, they're going to run with them, and then they could do it better than you. And now you look like you're the copier. But he didn't care. He said, "I'm going to do this." And he did. And he's been successful with it. Super nice guy, by the way. He's one of the new big up and comers that he knows what he's doing. He knows what he likes. He knows what he's about. And I applaud him for it. It's awesome.
That's awesome. Randy, when's your next show? When's the next, I guess you go on a lot of shows. So when do you leave town again?
Friday night. Okay.
And where's it at?
That one is in Fort Dodge, Iowa. So it's only a 20-minute drive for me. But it's for a holiday party for a trucking company. Okay. So get some blue collar comedy mixed in there. That's awesome. I got another one on Saturday in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's for a large car dealership out there. I think they said the audience is about 400 to 500 individuals.
That's a lot of people to perform in front of.
Yeah. Yep. And they said, well, let's keep it fairly clean. So I'll go from blue collar, tiptoe that PG-13 rated R line to let's make Disney look dirty. So, be as clean as we can. But no, that's funny. I got those two, and then I've got one other show for this year, and then get a 2-week break unless someone calls knocking and says, "Hey, can you come hypnotize us?"
Yeah, start of the year, because this podcast will come out probably late December.
Okay.
So start of the year, where can people see you?
So start of the year, I've got a 3-day tour in Nebraska. I got a couple shows in Chicago in February. I've got another show in Iowa in February, and that's pretty much all that's on the docket right now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that's going on behind the scenes as far as trying to get contracts signed, and people are using up their vacation days before they lose them. Yeah. So as of now, that's where we're at. There is a possibility of me being out in Los Angeles and San Diego. Again, just waiting on those contracts. So right now that's where we're at. And then prom season hits, and I've got over the course of 6 weeks, I've got 10 proms booked up so far.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
If you ever come to Colorado, let us know too.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. There's
Awesome.
I think we were talking a little bit earlier, and I performed out at Regis, so I'll make that phone call and see how that's looking there. And if not,
that'd be cool.
I got some connections out in Colorado. We can maybe 4-wall a show. We can just do it at a comedy club or a venue, and maybe dinner and a show. Have some fun with it.
That would be awesome, man. Yeah, definitely let us know if you're going to do that, because I'd love to come see this show. This sounds really cool. All right, Randy, how can people get hold of you?
So if you go on any social media handle, it's at R Andrews Live. No spaces, no underscores, no dashes, just none of that fun business. Or you can look up randyandrewslive.com. It's my website. We're just Randy Andrews Hypnotist. I'm the one and only out there. There's a few social media tags with the singing hypnotist. It's one of the little gimmick that I threw in there because I got bored pre-show and I started singing and people liked it. So, but yeah,
the singing hypnotist now.
Yep. Just throw whatever I can, but randyandrewslive.com or at R Andrews Live on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. YouTube's coming. It's I think I've got that at R Andrews Live there too. So
got to get those shorts out. Those YouTube shorts. Those are the ways to go, man. That's what I'm dropped the ball on the list for a long time. Then everyone's like, no, you're doing it all wrong. It's shorts.
YouTube shorts, TikTok, and Instagram reels. That's the money makers right now. That's how people find you.
Yeah. The attention span's super short. So you got to go to TikTok.
Yep.
And do like a 10-second, 15-second deal. And then they'll be like, wait a minute, where's this guy at? And they go to YouTube and it gets a little bit longer and they go to this next.
Yep. It's a rabbit hole. Now, I was at earlier this year, I was traveling and hit a lot of airports, and I got that. It was part of that weird Shrek dancing in the sky trend that was going around on TikTok. And I was getting some weird looks that I was filming behind airplanes, just kind of popping my phone up, and they'd see Shrek on my phone popping, dancing behind the airplane. And so I started some conversations in airports there, but
yeah.
But that trend died down. I was getting a little weird for myself.
That's awesome. All right. So,
yeah.
Randy, are we missing anything? What are we missing here that we didn't ask?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I think we covered kind of the gist of it. I mean, obviously, so I'm an open book. So if anybody is out there listening, they want to know more about hypnosis or comedy. I actually, from the FFA convention, I had this girl, she found me on Instagram, and she started sending me some messages saying, hey, I was at your show. I'm writing a research paper in psychology and I love hypnosis. Can you help me out? I go, what do you need to know?
The student becomes the teacher.
So her and I, we went back and forth in messages. And then we did a little Zoom call with her, and I showed her, hey, here's some good research to find. I'm not going to write your paper for you. I'm not going to do your slides for you, but I said, you can use me as a resource for you. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, so out there, if anybody wants to know more about hypnosis, motivational speaking, public speaking, marketing as service business, that's all I know. So feel free to reach out, hit me up. I'm an open book. Knowledge is power, and I'm here to share it with everybody. So I don't charge. I like talking to people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And go out and see Randy's show.
Yeah, come have some fun. If you want to get hypnotized, jump on stage.
I'm going to be the guy in the back. I'm not coming up front. I'll watch the first couple shows, then I'll get out there.
You'd be surprised. I did a show this last year. I had 4 football players at a college. They were sitting in the far back, and they were too cool. They didn't want to come up. They're like, this is bogus. Coach is making me come. Yeah. And one of the guys, before the show started, he saw me. He goes, hey, this is fake. It's not real. I go, oh, it's real. He goes, nah. Well, he got hypnotized in the audience. I brought him up on stage. And at the end of the show, I did this little thing. I said, hey, if you didn't think hypnosis was real, I'm a man of my word. I said, go ahead and shake my hand right here. I said, it's not real. He goes, nope, mind over matter. Not real. It's fake. And we'll shake my hand. And I said, look at my thumb and sleep. And I shook his hand and he dropped to the ground just like that.
No way.
And the audiences, they were all laughing. The volunteers behind me, they didn't know about it. They were in a awakened state. I heard one of them go, is he dead? Did you kill him? And someone next said, no, he's breathing. He's good. So
that's awesome.
That clip's actually going to get posted up on online here before too much longer. So
yeah, I want to see the link to that. I definitely want to see that one.
But yeah, it's come out and see me if I'll post my tour schedules coming up here. if I'm in your area, hit me up. We can meet beforehand. We talk. We can get you out to the show, make you part of the show. Have a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Randy, here's the big question.
Yep.
Here's the big question. It's the big one here. We are LandLife. I buy and sell vacant land, dirt and trees. That's it.
Yep.
If you could buy land anywhere in the whole world, where would it be and why?
All right. So put a little thought in this one.
All right, good.
There's two schools of thought with this. One is monetization. We can make some money off of it. So if we go that route, I would say probably central Iowa, because the dirt there is super fertile, good for growing a bunch of different crops. If I'm being selfish for myself and I want to build a house, just kind of retire and live the best life I can, I'm going to say I'm a big fan of the South. I'm not a huge snow and winter fan, so I'm going to have to say probably I'm going to say Texas. Like we'll go like the Dallas, Fort Worth, that general vicinity there, kind of up towards the northern part. That's where I'd like, if I bought land to build a house, to retire and just kind of live it out, I think I'd go there just because it's nice. If my wife is listening, and then it'd be Iowa, because that's where she's from, and I can't uproot her from her family.
So you're going to Iowa. That's what you meant.
Yeah.
So you ain't going to Dallas, Fort Worth. You're going to Iowa.
No. So basically, I'm gonna dream about buying land and dirt.
But central Iowa it is.
But I'm in Iowa. So
That's awesome. That's so cool. Randy, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. I've never talked to anybody like that. And hopefully too, I'm in pretty good sized networking groups. Hopefully somebody's watching this and they're like, man, we do a lot of shows and not shows, but events, I guess, where there's speakers and, all things like that. That'd be really cool to see you up there.
Yeah. I do a lot of fundraising with groups too. So if there's someone out there that's working with a Relay for Life group, I'm big with them. I come out, I give a huge discount on the show. I donate most of that back to the organization because we're helping people out. So really anybody, if they want to see a show, I know
we got one for you. Now, can you hypnotize people? You said a relay. Are we talking running relay?
So Relay for Life, it's a cancer organization. They raise funds to help with cancer research. And so I've done several of those. I've done some for the Ronald McDonald House, and then for just different charities that are out there. But for the Relay for Life, they do some hardcore walking there. Several
laps.
You
hypnotize somebody to win? You could hypnotize somebody to be the best possible walker.
I can make them think that they won at the end of it. I have hypnotized. I hypnotized a kid. He was about 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
To give it his all. And I said, who's your favorite basketball player of all time? And he said, Michael Jordan. That's who he knows. So, okay. Said, I took him down, hypnotized him. I said, we're going to make sure that when you come up out of this, you're going to be Michael Jordan and have all his abilities. I said, kind of like Space Jam. And I said, you're going to be able to dunk a basketball. And this guy, he could barely get net. And he got up there. His hand was too small to hold on to the ball. But he got up there, he hit the rim with it, and then he grabbed onto the rim and pulled it down.
No way.
So, so when you're hypnotized,
mind power right there, man.
100% of your mind right there.
That's crazy. That's so cool. Yeah, help me how to dunk too. Help me.
We can do that. Do a clinic.
Got a lot of work to do, man. Randy, thank you so much, guys. Till next time, I'll see you on LandLife.